So I think Cubify has done an absolutely fabulous job understanding that if you have a good idea, it shouldn't be contained within a small presentation at one event.
True.
So what they've come up with is taking a piece of paper, digitizing it, and allowing it to grow into a community around a topic. So for example, you can use Cubify to actually do a presentation at the conference, which is normally done with everyone staring at a piece of paper or a PDF. Imagine that it's like a microsite so that you can also share the information out. You can build a community around the research or the presentation long after the event is over. So they've actually made a piece of paper 3D, they've animated the conversation, and they've designed it so that it can grow into a community. And say that the research that's being presented is perhaps a cure for a disease. This type of technology allows the community that's working on the research to continuously add input and collaborate far beyond the conference. So to answer your question, Dhalia, it's about taking a good idea that used to be valid for many years and expanding it and responding to the digital world that we live in and taking it to the extent that it can actually make real world change.
Definitely.
So I love that about Cubify.
Yeah. So it seems the theme is going to be around, people trying to solve the challenges of continuous content, so like long game, as well as conversations, connections, and building those communities. And I know communities is a big buzzword at the moment, but it's really where we should be talking about in the sense of how do you continue to bring people together. So with Cubify, not only is it about posters, it's also, and it's known for it to be like, for PCOs, associations to like, level up their content. Excuse me, but also when you think of it, it's anything about education. So when you look at the educational institutes, you are able to take whatever research they're working on, projects, continuous projects, and then amplify it, whether it's through social channels or whether it's through the community, and then create those connections with the author. And it's a continuous conversation, not only between the start and event dates.
Yeah, and I see it beyond scientific or educational or the typical use cases.
Exactly.
I see it in almost any conference where you want the content to live beyond.
Right. And so we're talking not only to event organizers that need this, but we're talking to also potential partners. So virtual event platforms, because we know that Event Tech Live brings the best of the best here.
Right.
So we're talking about those that want to integrate with a Cubify and sort of have that as a value add for their clients. Now, the biggest ask from tech companies right now is to create those strategic partnerships to move the needle for their clients. If you don't have the brain width or the resources to develop internal, and make it part of your roadmap. What are you going to do with the content? How are you going to digitize collateral, for example? This is where you reach out to Tamsin and the Cubify team, correct?
Right.
Awesome. Perfect.
We've got Tamsin back.
We got Tamsin. Can you hear us, Tamsin?
I can hear you.
Hallelujah. Technology works when you want it.
Yes.
So any last minute thoughts before we move on to our next company, Tamsin? And we're sorry for the glitch in the matrix right now, but. Well. Yep. Mhm. Yep. Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Tamsin. All right,
Thanks,
so we're going to
Tamsin.
move on to Hubelo, and we are lucky because we have Lionel with us here from Hubelo. So, Michelle, I'm going to ask you to play musical chairs with Lionel right now. In the meantime, for our virtual audience, if you do have questions, please ask them via Glisser as well. We would love to hear from you. Lionel,
Hi.
How
Hi,
are
Dhalia.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
are you really after last night?
Yeah.
Okay,
kind
all right.
of.
You lie. So,
Look at my eyes.
we'll see how you answer this one. No, I'm kidding. All right, so we're super lucky to have you here with us at the Tech Pavilion, and we are super lucky to have Hubelo as one of our partners. We love the Hubelo team.
Yeah.
I would love for you to, especially now, buyers and event organizers, you know, I've heard some that have sat on like 85 demos of virtual event platforms.
Wow.
And I'm like, why the world would you do something like that? But, so I want to know, talk to us about Hubelo, but what's in it for the organizer? And think of it like leapfrog where we're at right now.
Yeah, so Hubelo, we're basically one of the market-leading all-in-one hybrid event hosting platforms. And we're built around audience engagement, which we think is key to running successful hybrid and virtual events as well. Because once you've engaged your audience fully, everything else stems from that. Everything else, sorry, is it too? I thought I was going to spit into
Karaoke style. Think karaoke.
Well, yeah, I'll start singing in a minute, so be careful. So it's really built around that audience engagement element, because everything else stems from that. You know, how they move across your event, how they engage with each other, how they network, how they interact with your sponsors, exhibitors on your event as well. So we give you the tools, we give you that suite of features that will allow you to create a very successful and engaging event.
Good. And so beyond the fact of like, you know, sexy agenda and this and that, how does Hubelo, think of the user journey? So like from an attendee journey versus an exhibitor journey within the platform.
Well, the key to having a successful attendee journey is really from point of entry into that event.
Yep.
If you are finding as an attendee that your onboarding process is really, quite difficult, it's just, complicated, you tend to just give up and you won't even bother, attending the event. So that is key. The gateway into the event is key to how these guys will then perceive the event and also how they want to interact. So our platform is built around that kind of experience that you would have if you're, going to buy something from Amazon, or, you're having conversations across Facebook with friends or whatever. It's built to be intuitive. It's built to be easy and just a simple piece of tech they can use and they're familiar with. So we try and really adopt that throughout our platform, that attendee journey should have those sort of elements to it, the way they work with your exhibitors, how they connect, how they reach out, and also for your exhibitors also to have that same kind of journey themselves.
Yeah. And so what I've seen, so I have a pet peeve I'm going to share with everybody. Okay. My pet peeve are RFPs. I do not think they need to exist anymore. So for buyers and organizers, what is the easiest way or what is the best way for them when they're vetting out a virtual event platform to come to Hubelo, for example, to say what exactly they're looking for without an RFP and 65 pages of screenshots? Thank you very much.
I think, well, this is actually a pet peeve of mine as well at the moment. And I think it's really to do with organisers, first of all, taking taking some time to really understand what they're trying to achieve with the virtual arm of their hybrid event, or even if it's just fully virtual, what are they trying to achieve? I tell my clients that really it's almost coming back to the fundamentals now about your event, and it's around your messaging. That's key to it. You know, your sessions are important. That's why your attendees turn up, you know, and everything else is built around that. Yeah? So if your messaging is key, then make sure how that messaging is deployed, how those sessions look, how interactive those sessions are for the attendees. Those are key elements to understanding your requirement. And if you feel a little bit lost, you know, ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, come to us. You know, we're more than happy, you know, to tell you, you know, what you can do and what you need as well, if need be. You know, don't be scared to come and talk to us about it.
So we shouldn't be scared to come to you, or
No, I mean, we want to be consultants. We want to be partners with you. We don't want to be
strategic partners.
There you go. We don't want to be order takers. Put it that way.
Awesome. So one thing that I would say to everybody that's listening in, you know, do away with your RFPs because Lionel said so. And
Okay.
basically also share what your goals are, especially what you would want the user journeys to be. I think more importantly than that, you know, partner with your tech platforms as strategic partners, as creative thinkers with you, because you're going to need it in 2022, not only liquor, I think.
Yeah, well,
Right?
Yes.
But more also share your KPIs, right? So make sure that you have those in place as well.
Yeah, I mean, we want to have robust conversations with you to
Definitely.
make sure that we can help you. You know, at the end of the day, we don't want to be in a position where we can't help you. So
Yeah.
tell us what you need, and we'll talk to you.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you on that for Hubelo.
No
Don't
problem.
leave because I'm going to need you for the next bit
I
as well.
thought you were going to ask me to start
Yeah,
singing
no.
now. No?
But everybody that's listening in, if you do have questions, please ask them via the beautiful QR code that we have here. Do we have any questions, or are we good? We do? Should we take them now?
Yes, let's do that. Actually.
Okay.
Here's a question from Niall. So the question is, which feature do you think will be most important moving forward for audience engagement?
That's a hard one, really, because it depends on how you want your attendee what kind of experience you want them to have. Yeah. So if your event's built around networking, you want to make sure the features that allow attendees to connect is going to be a key element to it. You know, we have those type of features, and we have quite a few of those. So, you know, it very much depends on what kind of. This comes back to that last point we said.
Yep.
You know, we need and more jumping into more detail about that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. I'm going to add on to that. It's not a feature that is better than the other for engagement, to be honest. It's the strategy that you have and the plan that you have for engagement. So we call them, the Dhalia Plus team calls them cheerleaders in the chat. So you need your cheerleaders in the chat, for sure. And you need those, and you laugh because you can totally see me with pom-poms right now and confetti guns. So that's exactly what you need. You need someone who can spark the conversations and the engagement. So we're gonna switch from Hubelo to Wordly. And the reason why I have Lionel still here with me, because Lionel has partnered as a virtual event platform with Wordly. And so I think this is actually a great different perspective about the technology that we're going to talk about. I love Wordly because I literally, the only thing that comes to my mind when I talk about Wordly is it is breaking down the language borders and barriers that we have, especially with our international conversations, international audience. So in a nutshell, with all the tech speak aside, yes, it is AI driven. Yes, it does amazing things. There's invisible technology that I will not want to explain right now. But Wordly translates real time in more than 19 languages. And so, Lionel, from your perspective, what's in it for an organizer, especially those that are trying to acquire international audiences for their events, whether hybrid? I don't like that word either. That's another pet peeve. whether live, blended, or virtual?
Yeah, so using an application like Wordly within our platform, and what we're finding is that a lot of event organisers now are seeing that rather than running, quite a few separate events across different time zones, they're trying to consolidate these events now into larger events that run for maybe 12, 14 hours, but across different time zones and different, speaking regions as well. So having something like that provides you now with the ability to reach a wider audience in a contracted form, event form, and without having, taking up too much resource now, running these separate events. But also, this goes back into diversity and inclusion
Definitely.
protocols as well for a lot of companies. And as you know, UK companies are actually, there's legislation now in place where they have to have an active D&I function within companies.
Yeah.
But it also allows the event organizer to be much more, I suppose, welcoming to every type of person now on these events. So if you can cater for people who might have partial hearing, partial sight, with audio translations as well, use those tools.
No, I appreciate that you mentioned diversity and inclusivity. The other thing that I realize that Wordly does is there's a lot of thought leaders that you would want on your stage that language is a barrier for them, whether it's an accent, whether they actually think bigger thoughts, but they can't really say it out loud, in English. So therefore, Wordly comes in, and you're able to expand that thought leadership, the speakers on stage. The audience can then listen in their own language, for example. The most important aspect of Wordly that I think it's addressing is accessibility. And so it's, those that have disabilities when it comes to hearing, visual, et cetera. So I think that leapfrogs that quite a bit.
Yeah,
but
without
thank you.
doubt. But I'd just like to add to that also, but the core feature to Wordly is its
Yeah.
actual translation services, in the sense that it's an accurate translation.
Okay,
Yeah?
it is accurate.
It's very accurate, yeah, in comparison
Perfect.
to some of, even, YouTube sort of closed captioning.
Awesome. Do we have any questions?
Yes,
And
we
I'm gonna
do
play
actually.
musical chairs in
It
a
was.
minute.
It's very interesting that this question came in as you mentioned inclusion.
Uh-huh.
So the question is, what technologies would you recommend to promote online inclusion for accessibility reasons? I think that's more of a generic question, but obviously it's a discussion that's been going on for a long time now. So are there any amazing technologies and companies out there that you think should deserve a shout out for this?
Well, Wordly's one. There you go.
Interpreting is another.
Yep.
We have a native integration with those guys. So what you're doing, you're providing both kind of translation services, audio and visual, which is key, because it really does cater for everyone.
Yep, perfect. Lionel, thank you so much. I'm going to see you at the Tech Pavilion.
Yeah, see you soon.
So I am bringing on one of my dear friends and an event tech geek, but she's cute and is not a hacker. Mahogany Jones, all the way from Toronto, North America representing. How are you,
Canada
honey?
in the house.
How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. So here comes the best part about like the yin and yang of technology, which is event specialists, where we talk about not only understanding the tech, but we're talking about the production piece, the piece that the clients sometimes say, oh yeah, we will focus more on the technology, right? So let's flip that script for a second. And let's talk about the more important thing, not the technology, the production side. How do you deal with like the pitfalls and the epic fails and the short sights that the clients sometimes have when it comes to production of virtual or blended events?
Well, it looks like we went all in this morning for our first question. To be fair, I feel like we've forced ourselves to try to find what works well for us, for our clients, for our events. When it comes to production, I feel like the pandemic has actually allowed us to view content in its true form. That we need to remember that there are the Netflixes and the TEDx's and all of those things that come to mind when we think event production. But in our world, I feel like we've forgotten almost in this panic state that content is still king, and we can still also make it work for us. When it comes to the pitfalls, I feel like everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, I don't want to generalize, but a lot of times we come to the production side and the planning side from a standpoint of this is what I would like to accomplish because this is what the platform can do, rather than this is the content I would like to deliver. How can we make sure it is delivered in the best way possible?
Yep. And so, what is your advice? What are the top 3 questions or answers that you would want a client to come to you first and foremost when they're seeking your help on an event?
My first question is always, what is the goal of the event? I mean, I sound like a broken record for all of those who've heard me speak before. What are the goals of your event? What are you looking to accomplish? And then my next question is also, what is your audience looking to gain from your event? Because I feel like oftentimes as producers and organizers, we believe we know what the audience wants, but we don't necessarily know what the audience wants. So if we truly understand what the attendees are looking to receive, I mean, maybe that's networking. Maybe networking is their main focus, then that is what we'll look at. But maybe content is key to your event, and that is the focus. So we'll focus on that content delivery rather than all of the bells and whistles of the platform. The third thing I want to look at is, what are the metrics of success? And I want to say metrics of success beyond we'll call them the vanity metrics. Congratulations, you have a large number of attendees, but if your attendees aren't actually getting what they're looking for, then that number is really, it really doesn't even matter. So, yeah.
And let's talk about content for a second. Any cool ideas that event organizers can steal from you today when it comes to content? I call it legacy content, or it's on an external hard drive somewhere that they can use and recycle right now, that either they use it for marketing, monetizing. Any cool ideas that you've done?
I feel like one of the coolest things we've done for one of our clients was to rebrand an event that they had previously done. And we've taken the previous content and actually stitched it together to create a new, we'll call it almost like a Netflix style event for them, and then piped in sort of speakers in between to augment the content. So we were able to use what they already have. I mean, we at Event Specialists like to start with what you do well and then build on that. So if you're known for those keynotes, and I mean, truth be told, we recorded content for years. I mean, how many DVDs do we have at home from conferences? I mean, so take that content and put it back into rotation, and then overlay a few little edits to make it look a little bit more TV-like, and here we are winning.
Dance moves, I would say. Yeah, a little bit. Any questions?
Yes, actually. Well, I think this goes on with content. Do you think it's a bad idea to reuse content? You know, I think you're saying that, yeah, keep on using it as long as it's relevant to the audience, right?
Now, if they're dressed as Jane Fonda in the 80s and you're trying to bring that back, you can actually use it. No.
True story.
True story.
I mean, I would say it all comes back to how can you make it relevant and how can you make it new again? I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking old videos and adding content on top of that. What has changed? What have we seen over the years? What can we also use to augment what is there?
Perfect. So we want to continue this conversation. Mahogany, thank you. And if you still have questions, if you have comments, you can reach us on social media. You can reach us through the Event Tech Live portal. Smoke signals, pigeons, I think we have pigeons, don't we? Okay, we got the pigeons. They have a QR code on them. But thank you for joining us, and I hope you join us this afternoon.
We will welcome Dhalia back later on this afternoon. So if you liked what she said, tune back later. Thank you so much, ladies and Niall. Have a good day.